So what's going on guys, Kid is here and welcome back to a brand new video. For today I will show you the best FROSTFIRE GEMMA build in Torchlight Infinite. So in this guide I will show you what abilities and core skills you want to get. Then I will explain what are the best talents, hero traits and armor to use for endgame content. And then lastly I will show you the best gameplay and even which stats you need to prioritize so you would be able to get the best results and highest damage possible and much more. So no matter how low or high level or gear your character has, you can easily use this build and follow the step-by-step guide. So if this sounds interesting to you, then let's get right into it. So then moving over to the first part, where I will explain the FROSTFIRE GEMMA gameplay and what you can expect from this build. So this character is your typical mage class, that is a dual wielding wizard which can launch powerful ice and fire attacks. Her hero trait is similar to the berserker, so while you're using your fire or ice skills, you will passively gain fire or ice energy, which then when it reaches maximum it will fire a pulse of frost or fire that will do massive amounts of damage. This build is one of the easier ones, as you only have 2 types of spells called fire and ice, but you will be able to do crazy amount of damage, as this is one of the highest DPS builds in the whole game. So with all of this said, now let's move over to the build. And for our main 5 skills, we want to use the Ice Lances, Compound Potion, Frigid Transmission, Soul Eating Circle and Blink. So then for the first ability we have the Ice Lances, and we want to slot in the Freeze Chance, Critical Strike Damage Increase, Added Cold Damage, Cold Piercing and Efficient Cast. Then the second skill is called the Compound Potion, and we want to select the cooldown reduction and the Berserk. Then the third skill is called the Frigid Transmission, and we slot in the Freeze Chance, Critical Strike Damage Increase, Increased Area, Added Cold Damage and Cold Piercing. Then the next skill is the Soul Eating Circle, and we want to select the Extended Duration, Cooldown Reduction and Increased Area. And then lastly for the last main ability we have the Blink, and we slot in the Cooldown Reduction. And then lastly for the extra 3 we have the Ice Limbo. Then the next one is called the Elemental Amplification, and then lastly we have the Frigid Domain. So then let's move over to the next part, which is our gear setup. And for the helmet we want to go with the Eternal Night Stalker's Hood, and we want to focus on getting the evasion number and the percentage as high as possible. And then lastly we want to get both these maximum life increases. Then for our chest armor we want to pick the Sanctuary of the Calamity, and the most important stats are the evasion, gear evasion and maximum life increase. Then for the next one we have the Ocean of Rock necklace, and we want to get this because of the perk that will give us a cast an extra curse, then because of the maximum life, and then lastly because of the plus 22 all stat increase. Then for the fourth armor we have the Watcher's Hold, and we want to get as high evasion, maximum life and any resistance that we can. Then for the next one we have the Unlimited Belt, and we want this because of the projectile aura, plus 1 maximum agility stack increase, and because of the all resistances. Then for the next one we have the General War Boots, and we aim to get as high evasion, maximum life and then agility blessing stack increase. Then for one of the last ones we have the Elemental Envoy Ring, and we focus on getting the elemental damage and resistance. Then for the next one we have the End of Confusion, and we aim to get the elemental damage, all stat and maximum life increase. And then lastly we want to get the Regorge Statue, and this is a one-handed weapon, so we want to get 2 of them. And the main stats we want to focus on are the spell damage, critical strike rating, and plus 3 additional stacks for the agility blessing. So overall, as you can see, this is an endgame build, and if you just started playing this game recently, then don't worry about this and just equip all the gear that you can find. But then starting off from level 30 or 40, only equip gear that is better way either way in evasion, maximum life or in the blessing stacks. So now let's move over to the next part of the build, which is the talent tree. So we want to select the Goddess of Knowledge, Arcanist and Magister. And then for the Goddess of Knowledge, this is how your talent tree should look like till 12, and then this is how it should look like till 18. And then lastly for our core talents, we want to select the Chili, which will give us plus 20% additional damage, and the enemy we hit won't be able to regenerate life for a few seconds. And then the second one is the Insight, and this will give us plus 45% spell damage and plus 1% spell damage per every intelligence attribute that we have. So then moving over to the second one, which is the Arcanist, and this is how it should look like till 12, and then this is how it should look like till 24. Then for the first core talent we want to select the Frostbitten, which will give us plus 1% cold piercing per 5 frostbites that we have applied to the enemy. And then the second one is called the Frozen Lotus, and this will give us increased cold spell damage depending on how much mana the enemy has. And then moving over to the last and final talent tree, which is the Magister, and this is how it should look like till 12. And then this is how it should look like till 24. Then for the first core talent we want to select the Inner Side, which will double our energy shield regeneration. And then for the second one we want to select the Mind Blade, which will make our main hand weapon do spell damage, which will increase our DPS by a lot. And as I'm trying to level all 5 characters, so I haven't unlocked this yet, but you should get it as soon as possible. So in a quick summary, these 3 talent categories are by far the best ones, which will make our build do super high damage, and these stats will become even more powerful at the late game. So if at any point I went too fast, then just feel free to pause the video at any time and copy these exact same nodes. And then with all of this said, now we have come to the last and final build part, which is our hero trait and pact. And then this is how our hero trait should look like at level 80. So after level 32 you want to select the second option, then at level 62 select the second option as well, and then lastly at level 80 get the first option. And then last but not the least, this is how our pact tree should look like from the bottom, and then this is how it should look like from the top, as this mechanic is more in depth, so I will soon make a dedicated video on this topic, but for now just use these exact same pact points. So then moving over to the last part, and it is the FROSTFIRE GEMMA gameplay. So I will quickly just give you a short explanation of each skill and what is the best rotation to use. So then for the first skill we have the Ice Lances, which is a DPS skill that will fire a projectile which will travel through enemies in 2 jumps, and then when you activate your hero trait, you will be able to do insane amount of damage. Then for the second skill we have the Compound Source, which every class has, and this ability will just restore your mana and life in few seconds. So if you ever run out of mana, then this is a great skill to use. Then for the next one we have the Frigid Transmission, which is a blink that will teleport you to a further distance. And if you blink on the enemy, then you will inflict a stack of slow and deal considerable amount of damage. Then for the next one we have the Soul Eating Circle, which will create a circle that will surround you, and this circle will give you a bunch of buffs, like damage increase, then you will do increased piercing attacks and much more. And the more enemies you hit, the more stacks you will receive. Then for one of the last ones we have the Blink, which is our second teleportation skill, that we will use to move around the map very fast and to escape the enemy attacks. And then as well, each time we use the skill, all of our cooldowns will get reduced by about 20%. And then lastly we have our special class skill, aka the hero trait. So while you're using your fire or ice skills, you will passively gain fire or ice energy, which then when it reaches maximum, it will fire a pulse or frost fire that will do massive amounts of damage. This class might seem complicated, but it's actually super easy, and I will explain that even further in the next part. So with all of this said, the gameplay aka the rotation of this build is very simple and straightforward. So first of all, at the beginning of the fight we want to use the Blink to move from one mob group to the next one very quickly. Then afterwards we activate the Soul Eating Circle, and then from here we just keep on using the Ice Lances, Frigid Transmission and our hero trait called the Ice and Fire Fusion as much as possible. So basically our main gameplay consists of using the Blink to move to a mob group, then activate the circle which will buff our DPS, and then we just use the Ice Lances for range damage, and then the Frigid Transmission for melee range damage. And as our 2 skills will do damage, so we will fill up our hero trait very fast. And then we just spam all of these 3 skills in no particular order, till all the monsters are dead. And then from here we repeat the same rotation all over again in the next mob group, and that's about it. So with that said, I really do appreciate everyone for watching guys, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any suggestions, feedback or other good Torchlight Infinite builds or guides that you would like to see in the next video, then feel free to leave your comments in the comment section down below. And while you're doing that, please click like, subscribe and enable that notification bell, so this way you could support the channel and you won't miss any more amazing content from me. With all this said, you have an amazing day and I will see you in my next video, so take it easy, peace.